Okay, hello everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a whirl here with After Effects. Um, haven't been using After Effects, obviously, uh, so for that reason, I'm going to do something a little bit different since I'm not really a sort of a heavy duty user. I'm gonna go ahead and show you something you could do with Photoshop. So I've got this sort of puppet set up here on for a pig that I made a while back. Sort of a sprite character that I thought would be good to use as the material for the demo. So what you want, if you wanted to do something and follow along, is you want this kind of setup where you've got elements. Oh, this should actually be left foot, right foot. Not that important, but it's good to actually be very consistent. So if you want to, you could create this kind of setup, a mouth and a closed mouth, and eyes open and an eyes closed. And in my case, I didn't separate the eyelids and the eye left and right. I'm just doing blinks for this, and then the nose, which doesn't really need to be separate, but it's separate just in case I wanted to rotate it or anything. Um, if I were to go further with it, I'd probably do uh, this as an independent element that could be animated, maybe not even have the pupil, but animate that separately in After Effects if I wanted to have him be able to look at things, but we're not going to worry about that. So that's saved out on my desktop, and if I go to import it, After Effects is so smart that it will turn this into its favorite type of media, and for us, for this sake of this demo, we just leave it in the composition settings, merge layer styles. And so we have a composition now, which we could go ahead and dig deeper into and start animating. Now I'm going to show you a neat trick in this demo that is very useful for not just animators, but any type of graphics that you want to go on and repeat over time and not have to worry about copy and pasting a bunch of keyframes. So go ahead and look at this set of variables here. There's not much we would do on this composition. Wouldn't make any sense really to rotate this as our animation. What we really want to do is we want to animate down on the layer level. So we need to double click on this composition and double click again, and that's just the way it is. You have to get deeper to the PSD layer level to actually start your animations. So I'm going to go ahead and make some very fast animations here, and our eyes closed is going to just be a quick blink. And I've got 20 seconds. Really, realistically, I think that's too long. So I'm going to change it to a 10-second animation. And that should update. Maybe not. Maybe I have to double click it. It's 10 seconds. Composition settings. Okay, we have to change it here. So even though we're at the level here, we still have to change it. No big deal. All right, so we've got our sprite character that we can break up, and again, our goal here is just to show you kind of through the lens of this sort of game animation project how you would use AfterEffects. All right, so we've got our guy blinking. Now let's go ahead and do some changing to his mouth shape. So we'll go ahead and bring this in, and he'll close his mouth. Oops, wrong layer. Bring this in. He's going to close his mouth, and then we'll copy and paste and have him open it just towards the end so that it carries over here. And you know what? I'm going to give him one more eye blink down here, and that's going to look good. That's going to look pretty good. It's going to just be perfect for this demo. Okay, great. So we've got a 10-second animation, and we can RAM preview it here. It's kind of got a slow mouth open, just kind of stays open, blinks a few times. Good enough for now. So we're going to go back to, we're going to close this composition, and we're going to view it here. And we're going to see, I actually want to change the composition setting to a longer stretch. So let's do 40 seconds. Okay, so this should be bigger if we stretch out here. So we can see our piggy ends up at 10 seconds just disappearing because that composition, remember, we changed it to 10 seconds. So now the trick is here, we want this to stretch out to an indefinite length of time. And actually I'm going to change it to 60 seconds just for kicks so that you can see it longer. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to enact what's called a time remap. So we're going to click on time remapping. So I'm right clicking on the composition, and you would only get this option available to you if you were on the composition level, which is what's great about working with these layered PSDs. They're automatically created as nested compositions. So I can do the animation inside the composition on the layer level and then go back out to the composition level and change things around and do these sort of magic tricks. So I'm going to click on this time mapping, and you're going to see it creates a front and end keyframe, right? And that's just sort of like to give After Effects some reference points now for where this animation begins and where it ends. But now what we want to do is we want to sort of stretch. Remember, we want a time remap stretch so that it goes infinitely. And what we need to do is enact what's called an expression. Now I could go up here to animation, add expression on here, animation, add expression, and it's going to open up this expression dialog. But the cool little shortcut that I like to use is just if I click on the Alt and just click on the keyframe, it brings up this sort of hidden nested extra attribute for anything basically that has the ability to add an animation expression to it. And what these expressions are is this now is available to show you that these are actual code-based snippets, these scripts that can be applied to have various changes, on your on your animations, right? So it's really cool. So what we want to do on this animation is we just want to loop it. So if I go to my expressions menu here, I know that looping is in the properties, and I want to loop it on the out. So it's going to go infinitely on the last keyframe, which is the out point, and cycle back to the first keyframe, which is the in point. And so if we click on that, that is actually all that we need to do to get it to go. Well, it's not everything. We still need to stretch this out. So if we stretch this out to the full 1 minute length, and we know we have our keyframes where we want them, everything is fine. When we hit that play button, now you can see that it's RAM previewing all the way down the full length, and you'll see the animation. But now I do see one little problem, that it is giving me a black frame. Let's see if it shows up again. Overall, it's very slow. So let's go back to the beginning. All right, let's play it again. I think we're going to see a frame here jump. Yeah, so that needs to be corrected. Believe I know how to do that. I think that is... Oh, it's actually something here. Yeah. So if we zoom in and we look at the end here, it looks like overhanging. When we change the time, we lost. There we go. We had just one frame of this mouth open that we did not have in our trimmed area. So if I believe that should fix it if I just keep it like that. And now I go back, close that to... We'll probably have to move this. I'm going to actually go ahead and delete this. And we'll play this. Yeah. Looks like it was burned in there, but you get the idea. So if I go to... We'll do it again just so everyone knows. Time, enable time remapping, and then alt click on that, expands it out. And actually you don't even need, you could just go loop out and put the parentheses in. And by default, the default behavior is to cycle. So if I click that, you will see the same result if I param preview it. And now this composition, we know that we'll always loop wherever we go. I still got that frame. Well, I don't worry about it. I know that it's fixable. Okay. Let's try this. I'm going to put a keyframe here on the time remap. Set this one to 0 and then delete it. And with that still being set to loop out, Let's try that. We'll call this, we'll wrap this if it still has a black frame, but I think that fixed it. Yeah, that fixed it. Okay. So you can get rid of that keyframe, but you got to have that keyframe in front of it. So now what we can do is I can close this, and we can make a. So we've got Piggy Parts 2. Piggy Parts is our 60-second looping. So let's make a new composition that we're just gonna call our, our Piggy Land, and this is going to be bigger. Let's do 1080. Let's not do 1:1. 720. Okay, and then let's bring in Piggy Parts into that. So now, now we have a composition with a character that is going to be idling, right? And we could start to build this out with new backgrounds, right? Like a shape layer that will maybe draw in some mountains or something. And the fill is terrible, so let's not use a gradient. Let's use a solid, and let's put it behind, and maybe do the same thing. Okay, I'm not trying to build anything super artistic here, just trying to quickly throw together something that you can see. Now we could call this, our, background. Layer. And then let's say we wanted to create, I don't think there's symbols, but let's make a new layer, and now we'll call this the foreground. So you get the idea. Play around with parallax movement and whatnot with this kind of stuff. I could go in and change the composition, color background. Maybe give it like a yellow sky or something. Go ahead and in the foreground layer, we'll make maybe like oops, I kind of lost the connect. I was trying to draw a tree here. But it kind of fell apart. So the pen tool is a little fussy. Let's do away with that. I would not do that in this program. Let's just do something very basic. So there, that's a great type of tree for this demo. Beautiful. All right. Let's sample this color. There we go. And for some reason these guys are not at full opacity. Okay. Same with that. And I don't know why it's black. Let's do like a wood color. Okay, there's our one tree. And we'll do like different colors there. Okay, so now we could animate this guy. And he's in the foreground layer, right? Yep. This should be called foreground. I don't know why it changed. Did I undo? Okay, so we can change the color. Right, so they're easier to see. And so maybe we need a couple of these trees, right? We need to take each of these, duplicate them out, and maybe, oh, that's not going to work. Okay, but you get the idea. As these would have to be turned into compositions themselves, so you could do that just like that. Okay, so now we could animate on that layer. Or you could just go in here and have a slow, parallaxing type thing. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But so overall, you get the idea. Like, I could we could go on and talk about using trim dynamics and mattes and masks. But overall, the very basic stuff is all I wanted to cover in this video. So I hope it was useful to you. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions. That's it.